How's it going, Pokemon fans? CJ here from the JollyMonz YouTube channel, bringing you a deck profile of what I made first place with at our League Cup recently. As you can probably tell by the thumbnail and the title, it's going to be Turbo Dark. So, I'm just going to get right into it. Alright, so, instead of doing it in like the typical order of like the most important to least important, I'm going to do it in like the order of like what you want to see the cards in, if that makes sense. Like here. The first one is 2 Yveltal, and this is pretty much the ideal start of the deck. The Oblivion Wing attack, you attach more 30 damage, attach a Dark Energy from your discard to one of your, I believe just bench Pokemon? Yeah, just one of your bench Pokemon. So you use this, you can Ultra Ball first turn, grab whatever you want, attach an energy, start doing damage, putting more energy into play, and really this deck is all about getting energy onto the field fast to do more damage with your main attacker. But don't forget about the second attack, Darkness Blade. 2 Dark Energy, 1 colorless, does 100 damage. Flip a coin, if tails, Yveltal cannot attack next turn. You won't find a lot of situations where it's useful, but there's a couple neat situations. This with a Fighting Fury about 1 hits a Shaman. There's a couple times where you just want to put damage on, like sometimes Darkrai just does a one-shot. So if you want damage on and don't really want to possibly sacrifice a Darkrai, this is a good 1-price attacker. So, like I mentioned, your Darkrai's, 4 of them, 2 energy, does 20 damage for every Dark Energy on your side of the field, not just on Darkrai. So, once you get 8 energies, you start hitting 180 damage. So, which is enough to knock out most Pokemon. And the second attack, don't even bother with it. You're never going to use it. I won't even say probably. So, and then you have the support Pokemon. I like 3 Shaman. I know some only play 2, but multiple times when I've played this deck, I go through all 3 Shamans in one game. Like, not even just discarding them, I've actually played all 3 Shaman. So it really helps you get your turbo going, draw into more energies, more of your max elixirs, etc. And then to grab all the EXs, you have your 1 Hoopa. Your ideal start is going to be start Yveltal, have an Ultra Ball, grab Hoopa, 2 Darkrai's and a Shaman, and just continue to go from there. And a lot of the times, you're going to go through like half your deck in the first turn. That's not an uncommon thing. Actually, I've done that a lot. The supporter lineup, pretty simple for the most part. 4 Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7. And if you have a bunch of stuff you don't want to discard but you need a new hand, you can play this. And then you really want to try to use these early on in the game, because later on, luckily, if the plan is going as it should, you should be picking up prizes faster than your opponent. So these won't really be helping you out a lot in the late game. 2 Lysander, I feel that this goes in pretty much every deck as a 2 of. If you're a little bit of a slower deck, even if you're a slower deck, I would probably play 2 just because you want to try to Lysander stall a little bit. Probably the one odd thing with the supporter lineup in this deck is I added a second Hex Maniac. I saw a lot of lists only doing 2, but at the last minute, because I've only played this deck in 1 tournament, but I feel like I did pretty well with it. But the second Hex Maniac, this card comes in clutch so much. I feel like 2 in a deck where you're not relying on a lot of supporters is pretty good. I would stick to 2 Hex Maniac with this deck for sure. So, and then of course you have the 4 Lysanders to get back any of these supporters. But yeah, keep in mind the 2 Hex Maniac. It was a last minute change to the deck and I loved it. So you have possibly one of my favorite cards in the game. 4 Ultra Ball. First turn it gets you your Hoopa. If it doesn't get you Hoopa, it gets you anything else. I love this card, and this deck needs 4. For Max Elixir, you want to get as many energy into play as fast as you can, and this gets you there a lot of the time. It's another energy per turn. If you're going good, you get 3 energies per turn. Your attach, your max potions, maybe even a, not Max Potion, Max Elixir. I always get this confused. Max Elixir, maybe 2 if you're lucky. There has been turns where I played all 4 of them in one turn just because this deck can very easily go through a lot of cards. Like I said, I'll sometimes go through the first half the deck in one turn. You know, a whole 30 cards. You know, for a Trainer's Mail and a lot of decks, I would stick to 3. But with this one, I feel it works. You're really fast, you're a really aggressive deck. You're trying to just keep digging. For Trainer's Mail, I think it works fine. The card that makes this deck is Experience Share. You want to keep as many energies as you can on the board, and this does exactly that. You know, if they knock out a Darkrai or an Yveltal, you just move the energy. And then, you know, once you get 2 or even all 3 of these in play, you're golden. You know, if you have it right, you stick with Yveltal for the first couple turns. Maybe, hopefully they knock that out. Make it to where they still have to knock out 3 of your Darkrai's. And then you just keep pushing up Darkrai's. Because even if they knock out the Darkrai, you still keep all the energies in play as long as you have the EXP share. And then Fighting Fury Belt, it came in handy. It helps with some of the odd numbers like the 170, the 190 HP Pokemon with your Darkrai. Or you can just attach it to a Yveltal, make it last a little bit longer, you know, get more energies into play. And sometimes making it deal 40 instead of 30 helps out. You got some switching cards, like to Escape Rope, and it's a little bit out of order here. Switch and Floatstone. Escape Rope came in handy a lot of the times, because, you know, with the Pokemon that have like the evolutions, they keep their weaker ones on the bench at the beginning of the game. But it's possible for you to just go Darkrai, attach return, Max Elixir, Fighting Fury Belt, and then play Escape Rope, bring in your Darkrai. They're forced to bring in probably something small, and then you just knock it out. Switch, it came in handy a lot, surprisingly. You know, I never actually played a deck that used Switch before, but I liked it. So, if you're trying to use a lot of switching cards, I guess you don't want to use like 3 or 4 Escape Ropes. Yeah, but you know, the 2-1 split worked for me. And then 1 Floatstone. Maybe you have like a Hoopa or something that you don't want to get Lysandred up and then stuck on the active. So Floatstone there just helps it out. Enhanced Hammer. I love my hammers. And this came in handy a lot. Well, did it... Actually, now that I think about it, in the one tournament I played, I don't think I ran into a lot of decks that use special energy. But I do know it comes in handy because I usually try to keep an Enhanced Hammer in all of my decks. Like just the one of, because I love this card. The stadiums, 1 Parallel City and 1 Silent Lab. I really liked Silent Lab in this deck. Really, most of what actually even Parallel City did pretty decent, because most of the time I was using it just to get like my Shamans and my Hoopas off the bench. But in the one tournament I played, I did run into a lot of Volcanion decks. I went over this in the tournament review that I did with the deck. You know, I had the list laying out, and then I just talked about the tournament throughout the whole video, how my rounds went and everything. If you want to check that out, I'll have that in the description. But as I said in the video, I ran into a lot of Volcanion decks at the League Cup. So getting rid of my Hoopa and my Shaman off the bench and then making their Volcanions do less damage was pretty good. But Silent Lab also put in a lot of work in that matchup. I kind of want to try maybe taking up the Parallel City to add in another Silent Lab. But I feel like once I take out the Parallel City, I'll miss having it there. So I can see people wanting to do 2 Silent Lab, but the 1-1 split was very helpful. And then for the energies, very simple, very basic. 12 basic dark energies. You want to make sure you hit your energies as much as you can with your max elixirs. You know, Yveltal only works with basic energies. Believe Darkrai says... Nope, it just says for each dark energy. Alright. So, 12 energy is fine. I never draw energies too much or too little. I feel like this is a good number. So, if you're playing Turbo Deck, I'd say just stick to the 12. And then that's pretty much the deck. like I said, the way the ideal like progression is start a Veltal, get Hoopa, grab like double Darkrai Shaman, and then just start playing out your whole hand, you know, getting your max elixirs, Ultra Ball to draw more cards, you know, and then, you know, and even then, the way most of the games went, I didn't start attacking with Darkrai until turn 3, turn 4. You know, I was just trying to keep him out of the active until he was one-shotting stuff, like just knocking out stuff in one hit. I wasn't trying to two-hit anything. And then once that happened, here's the supporters. I was just using like Lysanders to pull up whatever I wanted, and then stuff against like Volcanion using Hex Maniac because, you know, they can't steam up multiple times and one-shot you. You know, easily these two supporters were the MVP of the tournament. So, but if you like, I enjoyed the deck. I would probably play it again if I went to another non-local event, like a League Cup or anything like that. This would probably be the deck I went to. So, like the video if you enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something today. I know Turbo Dark is kind of a common deck, but I don't know how many people actually break down what they play and why they play it. I think a lot of the people might just say, hey, here's a list, it's good, play it. I don't know. But, like I said, like if you enjoyed it, share it with some friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, stay jolly.